Hi, DSC I know you guys see me with a different shirt. That's because I just came from work. So yeah, um, let's get into it, and yeah, and let's. This is gonna be Blues Dumb History Tale. So might title it something different. Who knows? But yeah. This should be a very fun video to watch. Always Guys Productions is always good, and Blue is pretty funny. But yeah. So let's get into it. Also, recommend me videos in the comment section down below, and also follow me on Twitch and subscribe to my YouTube channel that you're watching right now. So yeah, do all of that, and yeah, let's get into it. And I just started the recording.
Hello everybody,
here,
welcome to a new video segment called I Didn't Realize Until Very Recently that March has 5 Fridays in it, so my perfectly calculated 4 per month upload schedule disintegrated before my eyes just a couple days ago. Brought to you...
Yeah, that happens. That happens. I've done that before where I miscalculated how many videos I needed to make, and I couldn't make a video on the day that I missed the video, so that's happened to me before.
It's not that hard, I'm just stupid. Yeah.
Always, something I will always say, but you're not stupid. It's fine. People always mess up at something, and sometimes you just don't think about. You didn't think about to look at the calendar, you know?
So I may not be the sharpest knife in the Caesar when it comes to planning stuff, but I'm really good at talking about dumb things in history, so today I bring you top 5 hilarious, dumb, or otherwise interesting history stories to impress your friends. These are all bite-sized tales that are all mostly probably true, but history does tend to embellish itself with time, so grain of salt. Let's begin with number 5, The Legend of Lapsang Souchong Tea. Now this story has about
I have actually heard of this legend before.
A dozen different iterations, depending on who you ask, because why should history ever be clear-cut? That'd be too easy, and then I wouldn't have a job. So, an army of bandits happens to be wandering around during the Qing Dynasty in China, looting, pillaging, and generally burninating the countryside and the peasants, and in particular they stumbled onto a tea farm and had the impulse to ransack it, as you do. Unsurprisingly, as bandits aren't usually known for their foresight, they sacked the place before the tea was dry and ready to be moved or sold. So our resident geniuses had stuck themselves with a bunch of damp, heavy, and useless leaves. They then did the only logical thing and set it on fire. Well, to their credit, they actually roasted the tea over a pinewood fire to dry it out. The dried leaves all, unsurprisingly, smelled like smoke because that is how fire works, dummies. So they thought they had knackered their yield, and they booked it to the market to get it off their hands as fast as possible. A Dutch guy at the market asked to try it first before buying a crate, and to everyone's total shock, he remarked that it was the most unique tea that he had ever had in his life. He bought the whole stock and brought it back with him to Amsterdam, and Lapsang Souchong has maintained a dedicated club of enthusiasts for centuries. And as it happens, this story has actually inspired a song from the legendary musician Snoop Dogg. Don't believe me? Just listen to this. Hope you're ready for the next episode.
I don't know if we're allowed to listen to this, but because I think let's just try to skip like 4 seconds in. Yep. So I'm gonna just skip because I can't put that in a video. I literally will get this video will get taken down for even probably that little second I played of it. Might get it taken down. So we'll see how long this video stays up. But yeah, I can't play that. That's definitely gonna send the music companies
or the elegy of the elephants. So basically, Hannibal had a bunch of elephants at his disposal with which he used to give the Romans a bad time. First, he carted them across the Straits of Gibraltar.
Also, since like nobody had ever seen elephants, like in Europe, they were all scared. Like it was a very much like a scare tactic. Like it's kind of like it's like a good way to think about it today. I think I've heard about this like from Salmonella, right? Like it's like if somebody came to you with, it's like if somebody came up to you with dragons. You're gonna be like literally you would be terrified because you don't know how to defend
into
against that,
Cartagena in
right?
Spain, and then, in order to get them across a bunch of rivers in France, such as the Rhone River, he had to make a bunch of rafts covered with dirt and grass to trick the elephants into thinking that it was land when they actually had to cross the river in the middle of a battle. Some elephants bought it, but a lot of them didn't trust like that, so
Well,
they
because
jumped off
yeah,
and
the
swam
elephants are pretty
across.
smart too.
Luckily, none died. A lot could have, and in the coming weeks, a lot would. So the next stop in the journey was crossing the Alps, which you may just know off the top of your head is not really elephant accessible. It's not even people accessible most of the time, so perhaps not a surprise that a bunch of elephants fell to their deaths between, gosh, let's see, the narrow cliff faces, the seemingly endless ravines, the very steep, craggy slopes. Bad place in elephant history. The Alps are.
Bad place indeed.
But the one thing that makes it all worth it is the look on the face of the guy who's stationed at a Roman watchtower looking up north at the Alps. Probably hasn't seen anything come over there his entire.
Look at his face. Look at the guy in the middle's face. He's like, yep, I'm here. I am like, this is the weirdest face I've ever seen on a human. Like, this is like one of the weirdest faces I've ever seen. Like, not too many humans make that face.
Entire life. Suddenly there's a giant army and a bunch of big gray stampeding monsters with spears on their face, and he would have been pretty freaked out. And I think that would have been hilarious to see. It's like an Abbott and Costello routine, but with a lot more murder. Anyway, next story. On the subject of fantastical beasts, let's stay in Italy, but wind the clock forward a couple thousand years to number 3, the unicorn conundrum. To understand the world that the people of the Renaissance were living in, medicine is a tough deal. People die for seemingly no reason.
Yep, and you didn't have enough humors. You didn't take out enough blood, maybe, you know?
Leeches
Didn't
don't
blood
quite seem
enough.
all they're cracked up to be. Maybe cause more problems than they solve, but I don't, just a theory. Good medical solutions are hard to come by, so when you think you got something that works, even if it sounds a little ridiculous, you run with it. One of these things was using unicorn horns as basically a cure-all. Would get poison out of water, could cure illnesses. A little bit fantastical, but it's honestly better than what people are poaching rhinos for nowadays, so I digress.
Yeah, it actually is, probably. But, this is like a pretty, like, this is a dark depiction. Look, I was like, look at the, like, everything else has eyes here, but you can immediately see the unicorn has no eyes. And just, like, it's
In
starving.
Florence in the 1500s, Cosimo I, not the banker from the show, the other guy, the Grand Duke of Tuscany, decided that he wanted to get his hands on a unicorn horn. And there are documents that show a correspondence between him and one of his many informants, advisors out and about in the rest of Italy that says, "Send word to the man who sold us the last unicorn horn and ask him to send us another one because I don't think the last one was real." Which is a fascinating insight.
That is fascinating to think, like, to the point. You were like, send me another one because I don't think this one was real. I think you maybe have sent me a fake unicorn horn. That's such an fascinating. Like, you just didn't think like, huh, unicorns don't exist. Nope. Like, it had to just be the wrong one. You have so much hope. Like,
Into the
this is probably wrong.
psychology of the Renaissance man, because the thought process isn't, oh, unicorns aren't real. It's not, oh, this guy's a fraud. It's, this asshole is keeping the good stuff to himself. Because honestly, at the end of the day, still probably beats leeches. Most things do. Jumping back to China.
Hi, and we're back. And let's get into it because, yeah, the camera died, so I had to put in a different battery. But we're here now. We're here. We're getting into it, and Let's go, and
I know we come to number 2 on our list, The Fable of the Empty Fort. This pair of stories takes place during the Three Kingdoms period, and I'll save the context for next week's video, but suffice to say that since China prized strategic thinking above all else, sometimes you get some unorthodox solutions to problems, like say the problem of they have a way bigger army than we do, and we're definitely screwed if we fight them in an open battle. So, let me spin you a yarn of unrivaled tactical brilliance. I won't get into the names and the who's who, because it's probably a little more trouble than it's worth, but basically, very small army has one fort to defend against a very much larger, better equipped army. What they do is instead of closing the main gate and trying to defend it like you would defend anything, they just leave the main gate wide open. So
yeah, I remember hearing about. Yeah, this is definitely something I remember hearing about, and it's insane to me that this actually worked.
when the big army comes in and wanders around and says, huh, that's certainly peculiar, a giant ambush descends to massacre all of them in the confusion. It worked. What can I say? It worked. On the other side of that, sometimes you have to defend a city with no army at all, not even like an ambushing army. So what this one guy did in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, probably a fictional story, but at least attested in the literature, is he sat on top of the main gate, the main entryway to the city, just playing his little zither, kind of quasi-guitar-ish type thing, possibly sipping tea, just playing this tune like he's the chillest.
I definitely heard that it was like a real story though, like from like a certain general that like tried to do this. I don't know.
Dude on planet Earth. And the invading general, Sima Yi, is the one name I can actually remember off the top of my head, said, whoa, guys, that dude looks way too confident to let us just walk in there. If we set foot...
I think, yeah, because I was about to say, I think we watched like a video, we might have watched another video on this, where this actually did happen. So yeah, I do remember it pretty well, actually.
But in that fort, we're totally doomed. Retreat, get out of here, he's gonna murder us all if we go anywhere near him. So this entire giant army turns around and books it because this guy was just playing a tune on top of the main entryway to the city. That, ladies and gentlemen, is rolling like 6 natural 20s in a row on your deception checks. This last story, possibly the most ridiculous of them all, is the tale of the South Sea Company.
That actually, this is actually a crazy one.
Essentially, without reliving the nightmares that were my economics minor, England had a lot of debt in the early 1700s, so a couple guys got together to form essentially a privatized version of the Bank of England called the South Sea Company that could exchange government debt for stock in the company. And the whole deal was that they would go and trade, they'd go and, do all this stuff like what the East India Company was doing, but in the South Sea instead. It would be a good time, everyone would have fun. The South Sea Company, having some pretty substantial government support, started doing really well on the English stock market. Its value almost consistently rose throughout its, spoiler alert, brief history. And it became the manager of the assets of the king. It basically bribed all of Parliament into letting it have more economic power to do more things, and it essentially bought out England's debt, all of England, because the valuation of the company was more than there were pounds sterling in England to go around.
Wait, what? That's insane. That actually is very nonsensical. How did that happen? How do you even let a company get to that point?
At its peak valuation, the South Sea Company was worth a quarter of the GDP of the British Empire. Here's the thing. The South Sea, unlike the East Indian Ocean, was not actually a monopoly on English trade, because the South Sea, being the eastern Atlantic coast of South America and Central America, were all owned by Spain. So the South Sea Company didn't even have the rights to trade in the South Sea. So the South Sea Company had basically no profits, ever. But somehow they were worth a lot of money because people just kept putting money in and the stock kept going up, so people kept putting money in.
Oh yeah, I remember actually seeing this video. I seen a video on this. I don't know if it was like a Salmonella video, but yeah, it was the stupidest thing. I remember like, no, it wasn't a Salmonella video. We watched it, I can't think of the channel name, Extra Credits. We watched it on Extra Credits, and yeah, that was like a whole, like, I think it was like 6 or 7 parts to it, but we watched it on Extra Credits. before we stopped watching the channel, because a lot of subscribers didn't really like the channel. They were like, yeah, like the channel kind of sucks. Some of the views that they had, so that's why we just kind of stopped watching it. Also, we stopped watching it because it wasn't just that. It was also it was making me. I mean, it made no sense to watch it. It wasn't even garnering any views. It wasn't. You know, it was just no point. It was fighting. It was beating a dead chicken, as they say, right?
The stock kept going up, so people kept putting money in, and then eventually the stock stopped going up. And then the whole thing came crashing down very swiftly. Basically, all of Parliament was implicated in it because they were the ones who took bribes and gave the South Sea Company way more rights than any company ever should have had. So that's the South Sea Bubble, the company that was worth more than England and didn't actually make a single pound of revenue in its entire lifespan. In conclusion, always max out your charisma stats, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thanks for watching. And
That's something that you always need to remember. Yep, dude. Yeah, always be charismatic, and you will probably do well in business and stuff like that. But yeah, talk to you guys in the next video. Subscribe to the channel. Go to my Twitch, follow that, and yeah, talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.